Donald Trump and his evil eunuch snake tongue advisor, Elon Musk, along with tiny X9, XJ9 unit or whatever. I forget what he named his kid, a bunch of numbers and letters. I'm not trying to be mean. Had a press conference out of the Oval Office. And this is visually, as somebody who's done some photography, does some filmography, very little, okay, in the grand scheme of my life, right? Young, so I can't do that much, but in a bit that I have done, this shot right here of just Trump sitting down as Elon stands up and commands the room. This is a very strange image to project from the Oval Office, from the Resolute decks, from the President of the United States. It doesn't project strength for the president. It projects, it projects the image of like the deep state controller getting puppeteered by the richest man on the planet. I mean, this is the type of stuff that if Joe Biden was doing, Alex Jones would be popping a blood vessel about it. But because Elon is with Trump, Elon is now the great crusader against the establishment and not just somebody fighting for his own establishment. Either way, they had this press conference and we got to talk about it because it was bizarre. It was really, really weird. And I don't know what moment to start on first, but basically Elon Musk went there as the president sat on and answered one after the other questions from the press as he puts his kid on his shoulders and the kids dance around and yada, 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 and like picks his nose and such and whatever. And it really feels like he isn't even trying. I think he's trying, but it feels like he isn't. I think he's doing the type of trying of, he's swinging at these answers at the fly, but I don't think he really put two and two together about the type of questions that are going to be thrown at him, because this is the type of answer that you only let pass if you're either A, already a huge fan of Elon, or B, doing something else while he says it and not paying attention. Listen to this.
I can just ask a follow-up to the Pentagon contracts. If you have received billions of dollars in contracts from the Pentagon, and the president's directing you to look into the Department of Defense, is that a conflict of interest?
Okay, so the question is, hey, you are a government contractor making like $15 billion off of American taxpayer dollars that is decided to be given to you by the government and the institutions that you're currently like gutting, and you're seeing all this data from your competitors, other government contractors. That doesn't seem very fair. What are we going to do to like limit that that conflict of interest? What's the plan, Chief, on you seeing all the information about your competitors, as we're hearing about like Tesla getting involved with DOD contracts now, about a possible Tesla truck for the armed forces, a Tesla vehicle, armored Tesla vehicle for the armed forces. We're hearing about a DOD contract and get $440 million for that, as he is getting continually more contracts and getting this data on his competitors. This question about a conflict of interest seems very basic for the type of complete unrestricted access that he is asking for everybody's information, including their social security numbers. What's his answer?
Defense.
Yes, which we definitely need to do and are going to do at the president's request.
Does that present a conflict of interest for you?
No, because you'd have to look at the individual contract and say, first of all, I'm not the one, filing the contract. It's people at SpaceX or someone who will be putting for the contract.
At the president's request, I'll disclose this. At the president's request, well, then he's not going to request it. We still haven't got his tax returns. It's been a decade and we don't have his tax returns, so he's not going to request it. So you're not going to have to show it. Oh, well, it's if this and this. You want the process to be transparent. If you're an unelected oligarch who is, or whatever you want to call it, friendly billionaire who is coming in and getting access to everybody's information, that process has to be unbelievably transparent, because nobody trusts you. The majority of the American people do not trust you to be involved in government. The polling on this is clear. Only 13% of the American public is enthusiastic about Elon Musk getting involved in government. Might be able to get some more people who are slightly enthusiastic, but his approval ratings have dropped by like 40 points in the last 12 months. 40 points. But no, it was 40 points since 2016. I think in the last 12 months, it's been like another 20 points or something. That does not indicate a shift in the American perception of you that says, yay, give him more power. Give the richest man on the planet more power. As somebody who is against the status quo, which is definitely a message that the electorate has sent, that they're against the incumbency, what we need is something to represent the alternative of the incumbency. I know, let's get the richest man on the planet. No, dude, they didn't vote for you. They didn't vote for you. And you're being given completely illegal access to all this information, and then illegally using that access to block funds that were congressionally mandated. You never got a single vote from anybody. But apparently he is more powerful than the people who the American people actually voted for. Why? Because he gave people like Donald Trump money. Because he gave him money, because he backed him. And now he is assisting Trump and trying to push his agenda, both financially and with political backing, but also with his social media platform and with his presence as, you know, an influential person that people listen to because of his, you know, scientific work with rockets, and the fact that, again, he is the single wealthiest man on the planet. This is a terrible answer. I'm sorry it was so much for such a short answer, but let's go through a few more.
The people voted for major government reform. There should be no doubt about that. That was on the campaign. The president spoke about that at every rally. The people voted for major government reform, and that's what people are going to get. They're going to get what they voted for. And a lot of times, that, you know, people that don't get what they voted for, but in this presidency, they are going to get what they voted for. And that's what democracy is all about.
They voted for lower grocery prices. They did not vote for a bunch of 19-year-olds who just got out of high school to have access to the Social Security information just because they happened to volunteer for one of Elon Musk's companies. And he happened to contribute a lot of money to Donald Trump's campaign. That is not what the American people voted for. That is not what the American people voted for. People voted for Trump because they wanted lower grocery prices. People voted for Trump because inflation was scary. People voted for Trump because they thought Biden was old, and so they voted for a man that was 4 years younger. That's why people voted for Trump. People did not vote for Trump because they wanted Elon Musk to have access to Social Security information.
You said on X that an example of the fraud that...
Oh, this is hilarious. So Donald Trump said that America has given over 50 million. Actually, I believe it was at one point he said 50 million, and another time I think he may have said 50 billion. But we'll just stick with 50 million. $50 million to Gaza in order to spend on condoms. So we just spent $50 million to send condoms to Gaza. This is something that Donald Trump said. And so a reporter, instead of confronting Trump about it, decided to confront Elon about it. And these types of Trump lies are just so common. They're just so, they flow out of Trump's mouth so quickly that I feel like he's really forgotten that he's supposed to, that the relationship with him and the press is supposed to fact check him. Because when the way he looks during this interaction is like he's annoyed at the fact that anyone could possibly bring up the fact that it was just completely made up.
You said on X that an example of the fraud that you have cited was $50 million of condoms was sent to Gaza. But after fact check this, it apparently Gaza in Mozambique, and the program was to protect them against HIV. So can you correct the statements? It wasn't sent to Hamas actually. It was sent to Mozambique, which makes sense why condoms was sent there.
Yeah.
And how can we make sure that all the statements that you said were correct, so we can trust what you say?
Well, first of all, some of the things that I say will be incorrect and should be corrected. So nobody's going to bat 1,000. I mean, we will make mistakes, but we'll act quickly to correct any mistakes.
Oh my God, they block out Trump's reaction. Bullshit. Fuck you, CBS. Trump is scowling off camera. Okay. Oh, wait, there he is.
I'm not sure we should be sending $50 million worth of condoms to anywhere, frankly. I'm not sure that's something Americans would be.
Oh God, they didn't show his face though when she brought up the fact. Boring.
That's something Americans would be really excited about. And that is really an enormous number of condoms, if you think about it. But if it went to Mozambique instead of Gaza, I'm like, okay, that's not as bad, but still, why are we doing that?
To stop the spread of HIV. And what was Hamas even going to do with $50 million worth of condoms? What, the fucking terror balloons? I mean, like, if we're talking about $50 million worth of condoms, right? And let's assume that a single condom is, you know what? Let's aim high and say that it's $1 condom. Like it's a dollar for a single condom. That's an expense. A dollar for a single condom. I mean, the condoms aren't cheap, but if we're talking about, you know, $50 million condom, I think that's like a fair enough price, right? Hell, let's say it's $2 a condom, okay? $2 a condom. 20 million condoms? 2 million people? How many condoms? How much are the people in Gaza fucking, man? Dude, I don't know how anybody could have gotten October 7th done with that much fucking going on, man. I just don't know. That's actually a new anti-terror operation. Just keep shipping condoms over there, and eventually people will be too busy screwing to do any killing. There you go. There's my solution. We're in fucking cuckoo land. In absolute cuckoo land. I prefer Elon to Vance, Dylan. JD Vance pretends to have grown up as a hillbilly. I don't know. I mean, I think Elon Musk is ingenuine too. Would I prefer Elon or Vance? God, they're both terrible for many of the same ways. Probably Vance. Because, I mean, like, I don't think Vance is strong enough on his own, where Elon has his own institutions. Where Vance has institutions built around him from Trump and, like, Peter Thiel. So I would say that Elon is stronger as an institution. So I feel like it would be harder to go against Elon than it would Vance, who just kind of made his way into politics and, you know, can't, like, afford to just fail endlessly, unless Peter Thiel really wants him to. If I had a gun to my head and I had to pick, we're stuck with Vance anyway, so. Even though we're seeing more of Elon than we are of Vance. Fucking Vice President Elon. Okay. Next segment. So I wanted to just retouch on this, that the momentum on pushing back on the one of the two major checks on the executive branch, the judicial system, the judicial branch, is continuing. Elon Musk is continuing, and others are continuing to rally public pressure on the idea of taking the federal judges who are blocking the unconstitutional executive actions of Donald Trump. That is basically indisputably at this point, unconstitutional action. For example, the revoking of birthright citizenship unilaterally by the President of the United States. That's unconstitutional.
John Brown Enthusiast has donated $5.
But the pressure that we're seeing on the judicial branch from the federal government is not dying down. The executive branch, and when I say federal government, what I mean specifically is the executive branch, because our federal government is made up of a bunch of different institutions. When some people hear it's federal government, maybe they just think the president, or maybe they think of make it like a few spattering of institutions. But a federal government is made up of millions upon millions upon millions of federal employees. And being made of millions upon millions and millions of federal employees, that makes the federal bureaucracy quite large. And that also means that, let's say somebody from another country who comes to America and doesn't really know much about our system of checks and balances, just tries to go in there and knock them all down. With maybe even the assistance of the President of the United States trying to do it at the same time. For example, by trying to do an unconstitutional revocation of birthright citizenship with no constitutional majority backing it, or no pushing over with a, you know, filibuster-proof majority or a 2/3 majority to reform the Constitution. No, just executive order. Just executive ordering it. And sometimes not even by executive order. Sometimes entire institutions created by Congress, like USAID or the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, created after the 2008 financial crisis in order to help consumers who had been screwed out by creditors and other companies that are, you know, been hurting Americans. And has helped return billions upon billions of dollars to consumers every few years. I mean, these are not only, I think, bad moves, these are unconstitutional moves. These are illegal moves. And so of that big federal bureaucracy, the judges, the judicial branch of it, one of the three co-equal chapters of our government, the judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch, the three branches, that branch is under full siege by Elon Musk, is under full siege by a decent portion of the MAGA movement, and now I am getting confident that it is preparing for a full siege from the Trump administration. Now, I just wanted to show quickly that Elon Musk, even though we've shown again and again his posts continuously lambasting these federal judges for blocking Donald Trump's unconstitutional executive orders. He is continuing to do this basically every day, this time with a poll. Federal judges who repeatedly abuse their authority to obstruct the will of the people via their elected representatives should be impeached. Yes or no? Well, I say no because I disagree with the framing, and it's, of course, it's the Twitter poll. This is the ultimate decider of the American. What can we do? He's the people's with him, because on his own website they voted with him after he framed the question to assume that they're obstructing the will of the people, because the will of the people is to get rid of the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, even though it's a popular institution. And even in Elon Musk's own posts, he has his followers saying, "Wait a second, why are we getting rid of the CFPB?" And all they ever can say is debanking, Elizabeth Warren, just nonsense. It's all spite-based nonsense that is either based in the fact that it's somewhat tied to Elizabeth Warren because she helped to create it. It's one of the good things she did, or because they don't protect people like Elon Musk, because the CFPB is meant to go after people like Elon Musk who might be screwing over consumers. And so why would someone like Elon Musk, the richest man on the planet, who constantly profits off of consumers, want the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau to be gone? I don't know. Why would any extremely wealthy person who benefits and profits off of consumers want it gone? So not only is it not moral, it's unconstitutional, and so the judges are stopping them. But because Donald Trump has no legislative majority, and we all saw for the first 4 years, he might call his book Art of the Deal, he might think to himself as a deal maker. He can't do that shit. He's not good at it. He's not good at it. He's not good at domestic deal making. He's not good at coming to across the aisle and shaking hands and trying to find some agreement. He's not good at it. And the few people that might actually be somewhat open on the other side to making a deal here or there, like we're hearing this pitter-pattering from John Fetterman or this or that person, they're not getting them because they're not even really trying. Trump isn't trying. Trump's plan right now is to do as much as possible, as fast as possible, treat it as if that's always the way it's meant to be. And with so much happening, the focus of our democracy won't be able to concentrate in any one area for our media or civil society or legislators to concentrate on, and because it'll be dispersed and will not build up enough resistance to stop it. And because of the longer time these judges take to act, and the fact that a lot of this might be pauses as they wait for decisions, etc., maybe they can jam it through. And hell, considering how many of these judges have been appointed by Trump, especially on the Supreme Court, you never know. Maybe they'll get lucky. Either way, their strategy is to get this stuff through as fast, as quick, just send it through. So that doesn't require deal making. That isn't a deal maker's agenda. And the reason they have that plan is because Donald Trump doesn't know how to deal make. And he has such a slim majority that he's just trying to see how much he can do with executive action, which on one hand means that our democracy is being stress tested, which is scary. But on the other hand, could also indicate a weakness of Donald Trump, a weakness that it should have been evident since we saw the elections get ridden on election day. But even in some of the better outcomes for Trump in the polling data, it could have been evident that legislating was never going to come with a 2/3 majority for Donald Trump. I mean, it's slimmer than the majority could have been in the House, but it was never going to come with a 2/3 majority to go past the filibuster. And with Senator John Thune still wanting to preserve the filibuster in the Senate, and it being one of the few things that they want to actually stick to their guns on, the Republican Party in the Senate, because, I mean, they didn't stick to their guns on Tulsi Gabbard. They confirmed her. They're not going to stick to their guns, I don't think, on RFK. I don't think they're going to stick to their guns on anything outside of Matt Gaetz, because they all basically knew that he diddled underage girls for pay, and he was personally repulsive to all of them. So I wanted to just show this Elon Musk crusade for it and just say that his cronies are continuing to crusade for it. But it's not just Elon. What we're starting to do is the Trump administration itself start to crusade for pushing back this last road bump, this last speed bump, this barrier meant to stop the Trump administration. Because mind you, if the Trump administration decides not to listen to the courts, say the courts are wrong, we're just going to go through with it anyway, then you have a real, genuine constitutional crisis. We're already in the danger zone for constitutional crisis. The president's already speaking about things that would be a presidential crisis on the daily basis. We're seeing his cronies push for a constitutional crisis, as they treat the president's actions as sacrosanct, as if the president does it, therefore it is legal. In fact, that is what Trump has said, basically verbatim, multiple times, which would mean you don't want a president, you want a dictator. And when I was listening to this press conference and how they were talking about their fights with the courts right now, with many of them Reagan appointees saying, come on, you're not even trying here, when we talk about in reference to the birthright citizenship decision, it just makes this response even more bizarre. And like you're entering, like, I don't know, man, it feels like I'm on Pyongyang's TV. Listen to this. And listen to this little transition period, what they decide to do here.
Here are some of the criminal illegal aliens who were arrested in the country this past week. ICE Atlanta arrested a citizen of Nigeria who had been convicted of money laundering. ICE San Antonio arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of assault. ICE Denver arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of aggravated assault. And ICE Houston arrested a citizen of Mexico who had been convicted of aggravated assault. Now, before I take questions, I would like to address an extremely dishonest narrative that we've seen emerging over the past few days. Many outlets in this room have been fear-mongering the American people into believing there is a...
By the way, when we say many of the outlets in this room, we're seeing by a lot of the regular outlets that used to have access to the White House regularly, used to have access to the Pentagon regularly, and they like to have like offices there so they can be at every single press meeting, so they can press the Pentagon on questions and get more info. We're seeing a lot of them get rotated out to get replaced by OAN and a bunch of other conservative, we'll just call it right-wing slop news content. The type of stuff that gives you the prepper advertisements in the middle and tells you to buy the silver, you know? And the type of commentary you're going to be getting is the type of stuff that says the world's on fire, because that's the type of stuff that sells, right? It's not going to necessarily be the straight facts.
Burns is an immoral,
morally corrupt, bankrupt man. But like, even if they filled the room completely with OAN people, I don't know how the Trump space or the MAGA space could even breathe or live without some sort of media to lambast. It's like when I listen to like Viktor Orban talk about the opposition press and etc. You gutted it all. What are you talking about? Like the opposition that does exist is a swell of the people angry at corruption and the spiraling deficit. As Hungary is one of the most one of the countries in Europe with the most, actually no, it's the country in the EU with the most public sector corruption. Irish Space Potato Farmer, thank you for the tier 1 and being sub for 46 months. Man, you've been with us for a while. Thank you. We desperately need Spitting Image back. I think they did do a short return, if I remember.
Constitutional crisis taking place here at the White House. I've been hearing those words a lot lately. But in fact, the real constitutional crisis is taking place within our judicial branch, where district court judges in liberal districts across the country are abusing their power to unilaterally block President Trump's basic executive authority.
Mind you, one of the decisions that's talked about is a Ronald Reagan appointee, you know, communist, Marxist, Leninist. I think he was more of a Trotskyite the more I studied Ronald Reagan. I don't think he was more of a Stalin. I think he was much more of a, actually, I think he was, you know, trying to, I heard Mark Milley was flirting with Ocelon Thought recently. I wonder if they ever, whatever it is, a communist Ronald Reagan appointed the judge who made the decision when it comes to birthright citizenship. And read it. Just, I keep saying this every time it comes up. Read the Ronald Reagan judge decision on birthright citizenship. The way he talks about Trump's claim to like, hey, come on, we can just like revoke people's citizenship even if they're born here and it's been like that since forever. He basically just laughs in their face. Like, you didn't even attempt to make an argument. You just kind of like asserted it, kind of hoped it would get through. These aren't liberal judges.
A curd is a curd.
Ravi, thank you for the 100. You rightfully called Tulsi, but not Russian left-wing Russian assets like Glenn Greenwald, Jackson Hinkle, Chomsky, and Qatar assets like Cenk Ryan, Grimm. My God, you got to put a lot of names there. Nah, I think you're wrong. I mean, I've called out Glenn Greenwald before. Jackson Hinkle has wished death upon me. Jackson Hinkle is on Telegram seeing me getting bombed outside of Kiev, like missiles going over the house. He's reposting clips of it, like, ah, damn, we'll get him next time, man. I don't think whether or not they say comrade affects whether or not I critique their Ukraine coverage.
We believe these judges are acting as judicial activists rather than honest arbiters of the law. And they have issued at least 12 injunctions against this administration in the past 14 days, often without citing any evidence or grounds for their lawsuits.
This is not true. There's no evidence for the last. They don't cite no evidence. They just say it is the president's authority. It is just the president's authority to get rid of birthright citizenship. It is explicitly in the Constitution that if you were born here, you were an American citizen. That is all the Reagan judge had to say. It's like, you said it's, you say American citizen, being born here is not enough to be born an American citizen. There it is in the Constitution. There's my counter argument. You know what my counter argument was? Article 1, power of the purse, for your argument that you can just gut U.S. aid and gut this institution created by Congress, okay? You want to see my notes? You want to see my MLA work citation? Article 1, start from there.
This is part of a larger concerted effort by Democrat activists and nothing more than the continuation of the weaponization of justice against President Trump. Quick news flash to these liberal judges who are supporting their obstructionist efforts. 77 million Americans voted to elect this president. And each injunction is an abuse of the rule of law and an attempt to thwart the will of the people. As the president clearly stated in the Oval Office yesterday, we will comply with the law in the courts, but we will also continue to seek every legal remedy to ultimately overturn these radical injunctions and ensure President...
Radical! Ronald Reagan's radical communist judges coming in to say, please, could you look at Article 1 of the Constitution, please? It's so radical.
Trump's policies can be enacted. So here in our new media seat today, we have Chris Pavlovsky, an entrepreneur who has a strong passion for protecting...
And that's it. That's their entire defense for it. And that's not a big segment. This is a 46-minute press conference. Much of this actually on the Trump-Putin phone call, and we're not going to spend the time to listen to this. If you want to hear more, you can go and listen to it as well. It should be on the White House website and on the Reuters website. Either way, though, this is Trump's press secretary going out there and laying the foundations for a crusade against the left-wing judges, including Ronald Reagan appointees, who are stopping their basic executive powers that have not been asserted by the Supreme Court or the appellate court system, but is purely asserted by just Trump himself.